Audi Q5 Quattro front drive axle shaft. Jack it up and support properly. Remove the front tire. Remove the little center cover cap and get a 17 millimeter to remove your lug studs. Okay, but remove one. Get yourself a 14 millimeter long bolt. Cut the head off. That matches the same threads, and you can thread it into that bolt hole, lug nut hole, whatever. All right, all my lug nut studs are out, and my tool that I made, I put it in there, and it's holding the tire up. Okay, not falling down on me and breaking my freaking ankles and legs. Okay, next you need to do is get your half shaft bolt instead of a nut off, and this is a 19 millimeter Allen or 3/4 Allen. So if you don't have one of them, you better go find one. All right, I ordered them on Amazon, but they keep screwing me over, so I had to go to Menards and get me a 3/4 Allen, and I'll see if that's gonna work. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't hurt to heat them up a little bit, you know, for like 5 minutes. Not with the socket on there though, I was just showing you. So it helps it, sometimes it helps them out. Get the bolt loose. That worked good for me. Now, baby's way in there, ain't it? It's weird. Okay. Next, what we need to do is get that control, that knuckle to come out like that. So that shaft will come off of the front hub assembly. Oh yes, and I want to remove my outer tie rod end. I'll show you that in a second. I had to use a 12-point. I had to use a 12-point socket to get the tie rod end nut off, which was a 13/16. It's a real tight fit. Okay, and then I hit my knuckle to break the taper loose on the tie rod end, and the tie rod end falls out. Next, I'm going to remove the upper bolt for the upper control arms, and that way is I can take that knuckle and pull it this way. And those are 5/8 or 16 millimeter. So remove the nut and hit this with your impact a little bit, or your wrench, and see if it turns. If it doesn't turn, then you have to heat it up. Mine was frozen in there, so you have to heat up the end of the bolt just a little bit, get a little red, and go on the bottom and heat up the knuckle. Let it sit there after a while after you heat it, and then go ahead and hit it again and get it to turn. And once it gets turning, you can let it spin a little bit, then you can go ahead and work the bolt out. And this is a torque to yield bolt. You can see how the head is not straight with the bolt anymore. Might be because the head was twisted and the bolt wasn't moving. That's how frozen it was in there. So now, spray with some pentrant again, get them inside the ball joints inside there, and we'll have to open them up with a chisel a little bit to get the upper control arms out. Tap the big fat chisel in there a little bit, not a whole bunch, just get so it stays in there. It's in there pretty decent. Use my impact chisel with the blunt end on it and fit through the hole here and push that ball joint right out of there. I had to keep working this in there because it always fell out. Okay. The front one has a slot in the back as well, so we'll have to get our chisel in there, and I'll get my impact in there, and hopefully I can push that one up also. Always use some penetrant. All right, I undid my brake hose from here, and I undid my ABS sensor, brake sensor from here. All right, they're not really hanging on them. And then I put a long extension through here, and I tapped my half shaft, and it came out. Okay, so now I'm done here. Now, what you might want to do is you might want to move this little shield here. It's got a couple two 10s right here, one here and one there. Hopefully that shield will come out of there. All right, got it out. Now you got some inverted 12 points, you know, Volkswagen, Audi. There's 6 of them, so you need to remove those. M10 is the size. Okay. 6 of them. And then pull your shaft out. Comes right out. And then go ahead and match it up. And go ahead, put the new one up in there and hold it up in there and get a couple of them started, and then work it all the way around, get them all started, and then go ahead and get them all snugged up. Okay, you got them all snugged up, and you want to torque them to 70 Newton meters. Okay, 51 foot-pounds, all right? So now that you got those done, then we need to do is get our knuckle back up over there and put the half shaft into the hub bearing assembly at the same time. But make sure you got all this all cleaned up before you go ahead. Okay, before you put the axle into the axle, the hub bearing, make sure you got a nice long zip tie. So when you get that pushed in there and then you push your knuckle up in there to get your ball joint installed, put a zip tie from around the knuckle to the spring. So just in case you got to walk away to get something, you don't allow that knuckle to go like that. And you have this bolt in, you'll pull your half shaft out of the inner joint. So just do that. Then you can go ahead and line up your upper control arm ball joint into the knuckle. Get it started. Pry down with a pry bar and tap on with your hammer. Get it in there, bottomed out, get your bolt started. Then you can work on the next one. I've seen these. They have stepped bolts. I don't like them. I found a bolt that's 5 thousandths fatter than the factory one because my head on mine was bent. I'm using that. All right. So I got that one down in there, and I put me a little piece of wood across. Got my pry bar going across the middle of it, going to the spring, and I can pry down on them both equally. Okay. So what I want to do is pry down on my pry bar, bottom out my ball joints, and then I'll go ahead and snug up my nut on my upper control arm. Okay. So that way it puts it into the center of the notches on the ball joints. Okay. So that's what I will do. All right, I got it in there. I had held it down, snugged it up, and I torqued it to 38 foot-pounds. And I had one other one I think I did was at 40. So they have torque to yield bolts, and they had some outrageous torque on it. I just didn't like it. So I'm gonna go 38 to 40 on that. Make sure you use a 3/8 torque wrench. Okay. And then the next thing is this 200 Newton meters or 147 foot-pounds and plus 180 degrees. So still got to put my inner shield in and then put my lines back up, fasten them, and then my tie rod in. Spec is 147 or 200 Newton meters plus 180. So I'll torque it to 175 foot-pounds and I'll call it good. Put my screwdriver in my fins so it bombs out against the caliper, and I can go ahead and pull up on to my torque. And that will be it. Then my tie rod in, torque that to 40 foot-pounds. Everything else is fastened. My brake hose, my electrical wire, and my torque on my hub. Now I'm gonna put my little wheel stud guide in there and put my tire on. And then I can go ahead and snug up my wheel lug nuts, and I can torque those to what? Okay, lug nut bolt torque is 90 to 105. All right, so make sure you tighten it up in a crisscross pattern, okay? And that will complete your half shaft. So hopefully I helped you out. And if I did, hopefully you can help me out by subscribing to me. I appreciate it, and I thank you.